to the Meant for More Mindset podcast. I'm Yar. As a peak performance coach and lifestyle architect, I help women who are ready to reach their next level, eliminate negative self-talk, and break through what's been holding them back so they can have clarity, confidence, and prosperity in their career and lifestyle. This podcast is to empower you with a Meant for More mindset and help you reach your next level so you can uncover your purpose, reclaim your power, and reach your potential. This means no longer living by default, but dreaming big and pushing yourself to be, do, and have more. I want everyone to know that change is possible, that you are not alone, and there is an alternative way forward. Because when you change your mind, it will change your life. Hi, and welcome to the next episode of the Meant for More Mindset with me, Yar. Today, I have the lovely Tiffannie Anderson with me. Tiffannie, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for having me. My name is Tiffannie Anderson, as mentioned, and I am the CEO and founder of Away to Africa, which is a destination management company offering business, leisure, pleasure experiences throughout 20 countries on the continent. I am also an attorney, a professor, but my passion and purpose here on earth is connecting people throughout the diaspora, to and throughout the diaspora, and also to the continent, those from the diaspora, other places to the continent, but also those on the continent to explore throughout the continent. And yeah,
Wow.
that's of life.
That sounds amazing. So before we get into that, I just want to ask you to tell us something about you that most people don't know.
Um, the funny thing is, I think people don't know a lot about me, but I mean, a quirky thing is just I love reading. Like right now, as I look to the side, I see a book or two. I'm I love to spend my pastime just reading, getting lost in a book, transitioning into the words of the story. Yes, I that is my thing. I'm definitely a huge reader. I know that sounds kind of boring, but yeah, that's something I would say like when I want people to think of me in a way, I would like for them to think of me as a reader.
Yeah. It doesn't sound boring at all, but I do have to ask, what's your favorite book to read?
So my favorite book in the world is Shantaram.
Mm.
The author. I believe his last name is Roberts, but I'm going to uh, confirm, but I believe his last name is Roberts. But Shantaran was an amazing book
Mhm.
where I actually almost got kicked off a date for reading this book. I was so engrossed in this book when I was in law school, and I was on a date and I had the book out the window. And as the sun was going down, I was so caught up in the pages. I was like leaning out the window, just that was quite selfish of me. But yeah. Yeah. So Shantaram, and it's about really quick, a gentleman who is from Australia, escaped jail, moved to India, started a Bollywood film, started a free clinic, fought in the Afghani war, and it's loosely based on the true story. And because he's a philosopher, like every few pages, it's like little golden nuggets throughout.
Wow.
So that's my book recommendation.
Wow. That's well, thank you. Thank you. It sounds like a really, really, really good book. I've never heard of it, but it sounds amazing. It sounds like he's lived a very varied life, very lots of different things going on in his life. Which sounds a little bit like you, who seems to have lots of different things going on in her life. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today?
Sure, no problem. So I studied abroad while in law school. Other than going to Jamaica, it was my first time traveling outside of the States.
Mhm.
And I studied abroad in South Africa. And when it was time to leave, well, first of all, we studied with South African students. We lodged in V&A Waterfront, which is very posh. And as a law school student, like in Queens, it was definitely a contrast. I was living life in South Africa, but everyone was super, not just it was a welcoming sense of feeling more at home than I did the country that I was born in.
Wow.
So it really spoke to my spirit. And when it was time for me to leave, I just bawled I bowled crying on a patio, the patio overlooking Table Mountain. But it was just like a fire that was ignited. And from there, I knew that I would return to the continent. I didn't understand in which space, and maybe that was my ancestors speaking to me.
Yeah.
No, because I was excited to go. So my I had an open mind. I knew I was on the vehicle of education, which I was able to go in, and I was studying with South African students, but that was just one, that was one level into, I guess, Africa claiming me.
Mm.
So studying with South African students, connecting with South Africans, period, people telling me, welcome, oh, you're from here. You don't get that in the States walking down the street. People ask you like where you're from, but they don't say, oh, you're from this tribe in the States, and you're that type of, we have to think abroad
Yeah.
to think of our ancestral connection,
Yeah.
whether it's the Caribbean or so I mean there are Black people from the States, but you not a great percentage.
Hmm.
Oh, and when I say from the States, I'm thinking about the book They Came Before Columbus, because there were Africans sailing to the
Oh,
United
wow.
States before Columbus. Yeah, so there are very few, I guess you can say. Anyway, that's a whole nother subject.
Oh, I never knew
So
that. I was actually interested. I'm like,
yeah,
really? I
so
never knew
it's a
that.
book called They Came Before Columbus, and it discusses that. But I don't want to go
Wow.
to,
Yeah.
off topic for the question. So when I
Hmm.
returned back to the States, I began telling anyone who would listen, like, hey, you need to go to Africa. What we see on TV, this is pre-Instagram. This is before Africa was trending. This is when you still had infomercials. I'm like, look, they're lying to us. And when I
Mm.
went on a plane over there, I was like one of few, maybe one of three Black people on the plane. So if it's this conception of don't go because of the fear of, then why are they going? It's
Yeah.
like when you go to Jamaica and they're like, oh, don't go to Kingston, and Kingston is the heartbeat of Jamaica.
Yeah.
So and a few of my friends actually listened, like took me up on an offer. One went to Ghana. He's a chef. And so he went and he connected with people there and was cooking food, authentic food and learning of Kinke and Banku and things of these things and showcasing it, what he experienced. And then it was a college friend who she went and ended up moving. She was in the medical field, so she ended up moving. So I was like, wow, okay, that's interesting. I would love to provide a conduit for people to travel to Africa. So I thought of the name Away to Africa, but I was a law student. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to study law. I'm going to work on Park Avenue at GT, Greenberg Traffic. Like I knew the law firm I wanted to go to, everything. And God was like, skirt. And I think the second day after I took the New York bar, I left. I moved out of New York. But I did practice law for 10 years before I launched Away to Africa. But it was that seed that was planted from me first traveling and studying abroad, and then I continued to talk about what I felt. I began explaining to people that is more to is more to life, than not only more to life, but you have to go view and see for yourself,
Yes.
because there's a misconnection in communication with what I experienced and what we're told. And then
Yes.
looking more to, say, for instance, look outside of just what the page and a half of the history books and taught in school in the States, where it's like, yeah, so your lineage goes back to slavery, where it was a mutual understanding of work, where they were, and
Yeah.
I was taught of Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah in my household. So if you weren't provided that history in your household, or you weren't naturally going looking in encyclopedias because Google wasn't,
Yeah, I
as a
remember
youth
those
during this time,
encyclopedias where you'd have the whole alphabet on the wall.
Seneca. Exactly. In the 80s, that's what it was growing up in the
Yeah.
80s, late 80s, early 90s. And yeah, so it really not just spoke to my spirit, just connected. And that was it. I sat on the idea for 10 years, but that was always a topic of conversation. And then I met someone getting my hair done, and she was like, look, if you launch the company, I'll be your first client.
Wow.
And that's really pretty much, yeah, God
Yeah.
shifted things and here I am now.
I love that. I love that. And what I love about it is you said that you sat on the idea for 10 years, but it sounds actually more like it was harvesting for 10 years. And for a lot of people, they kind of just they're like, oh, I've had this idea, and because they haven't done anything over a course of time, they just kind of let the idea go. But
Mhm.
you basically kept it alive. So what do you think? Where do you think that kind of drive comes from, where you were able to keep it alive to the point now where it's actually a reality?
I would say three things for sure. Uh, just I would like to say discipline
Hmm.
in a sense of the mindset that I have when I put something, and these are the things that are workable, attainable, you
Hmm.
know? So it was something that it spoke to me. I said I was going to do it. And then when you keep seeing signs, so one, the discipline, and then also whether it's God, your ancestors, both, all of the above. It's a reason that I went to South Africa, even how I started on that trip, knowing about that trip, and then actually attending and then talking to people and then randomly on Craigslist going to get my hair done. And this other girl was like, I love Africa. And she was there her first,
Wow.
that is not something that discipline can't provide that. I
Mm,
was going to go get my hair done.
yeah.
So, um, yes, I would definitely say because I know I'm doing God's purpose on earth is God's alignment, the discipline I had to like stick to it. And then I guess the ancestors who brought me there back to Africa. That's the only thing I can really say, and it's something that I'm passionate about as well. If it felt more as if it was grudging, something tugging to me that I really didn't want to pay attention to, I'm sure I could have dragged it out for another 10 years. But in my mind, I went to school to become a lawyer. I did this, so I passed the bar,
Mm,
I at least was going to show myself I can practice law.
yeah.
Then it doesn't matter what you have planned.
Yeah.
God is just like, okay,
Yeah.
education brought you to this, but this is what you're supposed to do also.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that I would love to touch on is something that we've touched on before, where you went to university, because I think that's really important for people to know. So if you don't mind sharing.
So I am a rattler. I went to HBCU, Florida A&M University, and undergrad for law school. I went to St. John's in Queens, New York, and then I did a study abroad with another HBCU, Howard Law. And then I studied in Cape Town at UWC, which is the University of Western Cape.
Wow.
So that was an experience as well. So that I that contributes to, yes, my educational
Yeah.
background, not including grade school, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing because there's such a richness. It's almost like it was almost destined for you because there's such a richness of blackness there. Like whether it's here, whether it's in Africa, there's such a richness of blackness. And how has that experience kind of translated into a way to Africa?
That's so interesting. I love the way you piece that together because that richness of blackness is also that proudness that goes with it as well. So in an HBCU we're celebrating ourselves every day with just how we show up through again education, through different organizations, through being a sistership, a brothership, fashion, it really was beautiful. Like FAMU was definitely a great, great experience. And then in law school, the reason how I was accepted into St. John's, they had this summer program for minorities where you would do well, but maybe with standardized tests, you weren't performing at the same rate as others to get into law school. You didn't have those relationships to get you into law school. So it was about like maybe 40 of us, and I think it was like 30 something of us that was accepted into the entering class of 2000. And let me not tell my business, but anyway, So, and it was the largest, one of the largest numbers of minorities in
Wow.
the class for that law school. And they've done away with this program, I'm sure, with everything striking down affirmative action
Mm,
programs. But this was a way that so many of friends I have to this day were able to get a head start in life. And
mm,
because we have this law degree, we're now able to walk into rooms that we would not have been able to walk into. And it's because of this opportunity. So that goes into, St. John's programs, noticing that the numbers of minorities were lower and offering this opportunity for us to get into law school. And then studying abroad, like when you think of HBCUs, like FAMU is definitely on the top, but
yeah.
definitely Howard is as
Yeah.
well. So not just Howard undergrad, but Howard Law, and they
Yeah.
still have the study abroad program
Mhm.
um, with Howard Law to, currently. So that also was the color of my skin has gotten me within.
I love that because now you're helping others to do the same. Because that's the like the I guess the journey that I've seen you take is that you've done it for yourself and now you're helping others do the same. So how has that journey been to where it's been done for you and now you're not almost you are paying it forward to help others do the same.
So it, it's interesting because I never really look at it in that sense,
Mhm,
even though that is the end goal.
mhm.
I look at it in the sense of I have the ability with our team to portray Africa in its truest light.
Yeah.
And through the rose lens of someone who was not born on the continent but still feels so connected where I live there, a good percentage of the year.
Mhm,
And I can walk around and I've traveled to more countries on the continent than I have in the States,
mhm.
but it I really look at it as I'm just doing the work that I'm supposed to do. And I'm fascinated with what I've experienced on the continent. So I'm genuinely just like, look, so let me tell you what happened. And I'm able to tell that story through curating itineraries and trips. So it's on certain trips, it's like, okay, well, let me introduce you to who I met. Let me tell you about this amazing artist who is also has a Time magazine cover and Oprah has brought his work, or this fashion designer who is exhibiting throughout Lagos Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week, different countries. And these are my personal experiences. So let's put this together, where you're not just going for to go to the continent, but it is really for you to change your view or create your own view or experience or connection. And it's through the history, it's through the people, it's through the culture and these personalized experiences. So that's the way I look at what I'm providing. It's only afterwards that forming relationships with some of our clients are now like good friends of mine,
Mm,
and they tell me like how it has somewhat impacted or changed their life. So I it's still hard for me to really grasp like,
yeah.
oh, but ultimately it's my goal is to connect people to the continent.
And
And sometimes I'm sorry, go
no, no, you go. No, you go.
ahead. Sometimes it's like some of my friends who are from the continent, and I'm like, through tourism, like, okay, well, let's experience this for whatever reason. And they're seeing things through a different point of view,
Yeah.
also,
Mhm.
So, yeah, I remember my first time even going to Ghana, and this was before starting away to Africa. And someone took me around, and when we went to Cape Coast, it was their first time going to Cape Coast, also.
Mm,
So, that is the beauty and I guess the purpose and what I see myself accomplishing is
yeah.
the connectivity.
No,
Yes.
but I love it though because there's so much lived experience for you and also for your clients, and knowing the history of just Black people all over the world, a lot of it, because of things like such as slavery, a lot of our history is lost, but it's through storytelling that we're able to reclaim it. So the fact that you're now helping people to create their own story or recreate their story, if you will, is just such an amazing thing. So it's to me it's just kind of like it just even just gave me chills when you were talking about all the different countries you've been to in Africa alone, because it's just you're helping people, I wouldn't even say reinvent themselves, really get to know who they are. So yeah, I think that's just an amazing thing that you're doing.
Mm, I- thank you. Thank you. And so I was trying to really search, is this a name for oral storytelling? But when you read the book, what is it? King Leopold, The Ghost of King Leopold,
Hmm.
who, no, for those who don't know, he once ruled Belgium, and he reigned and ruled over Congo without stepping foot. And I think it was like a couple million of Congolese who, died in the process. This was, back in the days when the beginning of colonization, I would
Yeah.
like to say, but really not the beginning, but when they were invading Congo for what is that? For the rubber.
Okay.
And that resulted in such an atrocity, but they said that they were able to accomplish so much because, well, he was successful in ruling over Congo without stepping foot because of storytelling. He owned a newspaper. So in Belgium and throughout the world, he was, um, creating the story, which really was a lie, saying
Mhm.
that, oh, it was for, um, I don't want to say nonprofit purposes, but yeah, we're going to build up the community and the country, and we're giving back and we're doing this. And then Africans had a form of oral storytelling where when they told their history and the wealth of knowledge from family to family was most of the times told orally. So when
Mhm.
you have someone who can spread information via writing and owning a newspaper, and versus traditional oral storytelling. And then when it came to contracts and things like that, so that this is something new. How are they going? So oral storytelling is a gift, but I can also say a curse as well because of to document what actually happened
Yeah.
and for our memories purposes and history and her story, realizing the line in between, which is the true story.
Yeah.
You're comparing different documentations. And even from the legal field, once you try to introduce something you've heard, that's hearsay. You
Yeah.
know, so that is, it's good to keep that tradition alive, but also understanding the owning a newspaper, even now, whoever controls the news controls the mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
So I
yeah.
guess I guess what what's great about what you're doing is that you're helping people, you by reintroducing them, I guess, like you said, Africans to Americans to Africa, but then also vice versa, the other way around as well. You're helping people create their own stories and kind of, but in a way where it is documented that they're basically owning their history. They have more ownership over themselves and their history now. And I think that's what you're doing is so powerful.
The thing is like I can't take that credit, but thank you, but I can't take that credit. But in a sense of it's true, and what we're all doing, we're unlearning.
Yeah,
Regardless of where you're from or when you were born, you have the ability to, because of the internet and because there is mobility and transportation, we have more means to get around at sometimes more affordable rates, more flights. options, things of that sort, but we can go and receive a front seat to the history and go to the location and speak to the people from the location and from that community and say, hey, what really happened here? And go and read those books that really documented what happened, or going to different museums where they actually kept their artifacts, whether, you know, from whatever space time or space, you can now really say, okay, let me put aside what I was taught in school, or from when someone told me this story or their side of this story. Let me go and do a little bit more research. You have more docu-series and things of that
Mhm.
sort. So I can't take credit for that. I think there's so many of us who are working in different ways to unearth the reality and cleanse our third eye and be able to naturally receive and hear, and things that were told were taboo, like even acknowledging your ancestors is
Mhm.
something where now I can comfortably pray to my grandparents and people I've known, as opposed to being afraid of that.
Yeah.
So I think it runs deeper. Then I think we all play a small role. And that's it, even with your podcast, with what we are discussing now, and for someone else who can see it and then feel inspired and then share that word, or share the documented
Yeah.
form of, what they heard. I
Yeah.
think that plays a huge role as well. So yes.
Oh, that's so amazing. But before we move on, I do need to ask you, how many countries can you tell me the countries you've been to in Africa? Because I'm so excited to hear this.
In Africa, okay. I've been to Ghana, Benin, Togo, Nigeria, Senegal, Morocco, Egypt, uh, Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, um, South Africa, Lesotho, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, Rwanda, Madagascar, Uh, I said Senegal, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's about like two that I'm missing, but yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. I love it. I love the fact that you can name so many that you can't remember them all. I think it's amazing. And so now I need to ask, which are your favorites?
Okay, Ghana for the culture, Egypt for the history, like the greatness and the history of pyramids. And I know there's other countries that and on the continent that has, amazing pyramids as well, but
Mhm.
Egypt, seeing these huge monuments and hearing of the woman king and things of that sort. Um, Kenya because of its coastline.
Mm.
Ethiopia because of Lalibela. That's my favorite city in the world. Like Lalibela is heavenly. And then South Africa because of the beauty. So I know. So I usually try to go on the four corners to tell, because South Africa is just like one of the most gorgeous countries, and not just like Cape Town. I'm talking about like driving through Eastern Cape, like Limpopo, like that. They are very reminiscent. So the reason why I love Costa Rica, for instance,
Mhm.
and I can see the ocean, I can see the mountains, I can see so many forms of nature,
Mhm.
and it's just South Africa is just gorgeous. Like God made no mistakes at all with South Africa. It was like, and this little diamond right here is, yeah, yeah. Whoa. So
Yeah.
that's it. And then the coastline of Kenya. So I spent I live in Lamu as well, but Lamu like Shella Beach, and I can do like a 3.5 hour walk down to Kipungani, and it's just like a straight walkway, just beach, and then the dunes here. And then I'm just walking, and then depending on the season, first of all, the water will be clear blue. Sometimes you'll have dolphins. At most, you'll see maybe cows and donkeys passing you on the sand and stuff, but it's super gorgeous. And then you also have what is this? Watamu, which reminds me of the beaches in Turks and Caicos, which
Yeah.
is so clear blue that it has that powdery white sand like
Mm.
Zanzibar has.
Oh,
And that's
wow.
and then it's warm. So it's like gorgeous. It's like with Seychelles and Mauritius, gorgeous blue, and then it's warm on top of it. It's like, okay, God, I see you. Madagascar. Like Madagascar was, it's just like, man, like wow, I've been like skiing in Lesotho, and
There's just too much to know. Oh, that sounds so amazing. And I'm happy you said Ghana for the culture. Being a Ghanaian.
yeah.
When you said Ghana for the culture, I was like, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, Ghana is a vibe. Ghana is a place where, okay, Ghanaians are so welcoming, so like truly like, okay, like look at you as like a true brother and sister. But the food, the music, the arts, it's just so many things that contribute. The only thing, like, I'm like, the only thing about if Ghana took care of the coastline, that
Mm,
is another form of just like, first of all, natural beauty,
yeah,
but for locals as well as like, I think it will bring too many foreigners though,
yeah,
because once that is like,
yeah,
then
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah. We'll move on. But moving on swiftly. What I do want to ask you next is when you started away to Africa, what's one thing that you wish you would have known that you think would have helped?
Well, I think I knew it before, but I just was lazy with my approach. But
Mm,
learning Swahili.
mm,
Learning Swahili because it is a Bantu language. And when you look at, when we say Bantu language, within really the southern and eastern, and really just like through Congo and then curving down south and throughout East Africa, that's where of the Bantu tribe. So different languages throughout Africa, like Zulu, Swahili, things of that sort, they have Bantu I don't know how to describe it, but the words are of Bantu,
oh, so is it kind of like a
origin.
dialect?
A dialect, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying, a dialect, a Bantu dialect. So even though you don't say all your words the same, you're able to understand one another
Yeah.
because it's just different forms of the same word.
Yeah.
And so with Swahili, I can survive in probably 15 plus countries just,
Wow.
speaking the language. So right now, I'm still in the process of learning. I can understand more than I can speak, but with living in Lamu, they look at me like you should know. I have some people like I'm only speaking to you in Swahili because you've been
Yeah.
here long enough. But
Yeah.
it shows respect to where you're traveling to show that you've taken time out to get
Mm,
to become closer to them. It's like when you go into someone's house and they offer you a meal. It's
yeah.
proper that I don't care how full you are, you need to sit down because it's a form of love and a form of saying I'm open
Yeah.
to your culture and what you're offering me by me technically as a foreigner, not
Mhm.
technically, just like realistically as a
Mhm.
I'm able to stay in a space that I wasn't born, and then in most instances still feel as if this is home.
Mhm.
So that is my return. So I I wish I would have known to like I knew, but
Mhm.
take it more seriously.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
then on the flip side of that, what do you think are the best resources that have helped you along the way? I know you mentioned the book earlier, but has there been anything else or even any other books that have helped you?
I think what helps me the most are people.
Mm,
The people who really like whether they're working in a tourism space throughout the continent because it really offers freedom and so with tourism the entry barrier is so low.
mm,
You're able to, okay, you want to get into tourism, you can go to school for a few or you can open up a business within your community.
yeah,
You can find a space, especially where people are already like arriving to, how
yeah,
can you create a business based around tourism and throughout the continent, many countries, tourism is contributed at least when top three towards the GDP of the country. So I would say people on the continent working in the tourism spaces who have opened up their space to me, open up their mind to me. So I'm able to get to know that community, that space, that city and country better, as opposed to me just going and reading. And, you can always go to I appreciate tourism expos. I appreciate the support provided by tourism boards as well. But you can, find out about the country by going online and Googling. But when you go there and you connect and they're like, look, let me tell you, and this food is this, and this is what is, oh, you're walking by this, like say for instance in Ghana, okay, they for funerals they were white and black on this day, they were red and black on this day, and this is what this represents. And like with Chale Wote, we're always asking, okay, what are the dates? What are the dates? Well, it's a spiritual holiday that is based around, and they can't put the dates out until afterwards because it's a time of silence. I only know that because I spent so much time
Yeah.
on the ground in a
Yeah.
continent. And
Yeah.
then, I'm able to share with our team and then create these experiences, is taking this into consideration, you know. Understanding when it's Ramadan. So if you're traveling throughout East Africa, some of the restaurants won't be open, or
Yeah.
you're not allowed to play music like in Zanzibar where they have the full moon party every full moon. During Ramadan, they don't have it. So you plan a trip around it and you put full moon party, and then it's like, but it's Ramadan, and then Ramadan changes every year, so
Yeah.
it's just like understanding the cultural norms and of different spaces have really helped me now throughout the process. And it's something I enjoy because I I I'm attracted to absorbing information. You
Yeah.
know, I can just sit back and like, okay, all right, cool. I have something to teach my youth.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that's amazing. When you said that you're able to attract information. I love that because the whole thing of like you can see how you being a lawyer has helped with that, and how you're able now to it kind of it being a transferable skill now in your business to be able to use it to then figure out how to navigate within your business. I think that's really really good too. So speaking of well, this actually could be in any area of your life. What has been your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Hmm. Honestly, I failed
Mhm,
throughout, like, I didn't pass the bar the first time, like, there's certain things that I've applied for. I'm thinking I'm going to get it and it doesn't come through, but my biggest failure, I don't know if I can say they were failures, rather upsets that really still kept me on this path and made me into the person that I'm in today, and where I was able to learn from that experience so I didn't have to repeat the experience.
mhm.
Um, but I honestly, thank God, I'm not, I don't see it as failures.
Yeah,
Yeah, even I can say, okay, when I first applied to law school the first year, I didn't get in, but the schools that I didn't get into weren't as great as St. John's.
yeah.
And I didn't find out about this summer program if it wasn't for a friend. I went to college with Judge Hatchett's son, and we were super cool. And so he was like, "Oh, you should stop by my mom's show one day and meet my mom," because I was trying to get into law school. And
Mhm.
when I went there, it was a young lady who was working with her, and she went
Yeah.
to St. John's, and she was able to get
Oh,
through their summer program. And so she told me about it. And so from there, my stepdad, who's Jewish, his sister
mhm.
went to St. John's, and she was really good friends, stayed in touch with a professor there. So I went and met the professor, and he wrote me a referral letter. And then from this young lady telling me about the summer program when I went to the Judge Hatchett show, I
Yeah.
applied with this referral program and was able to make it into the tentative program for the summer. So me not making it in and getting into other schools, which I was trying to apply to because of this score I had, God was like, I can get you into a school where your score won't even allow you, you're not even allowed in through your score, but I'm going to introduce and set up different ways for you to get in either way. So was that a failure? I went to like the
I'd
St.
say
John's,
no.
a very great school, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
No, I think that's amazing. And one of the themes I've heard throughout our conversation is the power, like you said, the resources that really helped you is people, and how you've tapped into your networks, and as a result, being able to tap into other networks to be able to kind of help guide you on the path that you wanted to go. And I think that's so amazing. I think that's very underrated. A lot of people think that they have to kind of do it on their own, or if they don't know anybody, they're not going to get there. But it's I love what you've done. You've cultivated along the, yes, you've also done the work, but you've also tapped into your community as well.
It's called a good friend of mine, he says social currency. He said,
Yes.
if we were to do something, if I wanted to do something and I needed X, Y, and Z done, I can go into my phone list and I can call and and that currency is worth a lot because
Mhm.
you're able to piece together. And I think I that's something I need to tap into actually in this space where I am in life because let me just put it out there. Like right now, we're looking for a CTO, a partner to join with the Way to Africa.
Mhm.
And I know a part of me is like, just go on LinkedIn and see what can happen. But I'm like, I would love for it to come or it can, happen organically
Mhm.
through the word of mouth. But I know for sure I can go on LinkedIn on my phone and just reach out to a few people and say, hey, this is what we're looking for. And it's that possibility,
Yeah.
of that happening. But I've met amazing people throughout this journey of creating a way to Africa. And I may even for work purposes, but just meeting good friends. So I, I'm like cooking everyone else up except for myself. So I always have a mantra, like I always meet good men, I always meet good guys. And I've connected, like I put together a few love matches with my
Oh,
friends, together. So that's even social currency. So my
yeah.
best friend was like, you need to start a matchmaking. I was like, after I'm married, after I'm married, then I can be living, walking proof.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, that's yeah.
That's I think that's I just think that's amazing. Just the journey that you've been on, and the yeah, just the journey that you've been on. I don't think there's anything more to say to it than that. It seems like you do a lot. How do you fit it all in? And do you fit it all in even?
So I love the fact that you said it looks like you're doing a lot
Mhm.
because I had this thing with I was talking to my therapist, and it was like our second session, and she was like, "It seems like you have a lot going on," and I was like, "Ugh." I don't like being described as someone who has a lot going on because
Mhm.
that seems as if I'm not managing everything that's on my plate
Mhm.
because I know very mature grown people who's doing what I'm doing and they have children, they have a husband, they
Mhm.
have like parents they're taking care of, they have so much other things that they're doing and
Mhm.
they're able to navigate life and feel good throughout it because they can manage their time, manage their boundaries, manage their approach to life. And so when you say that I'm doing a lot, I appreciate that because I feel like, okay, I'm on the path of managing my life. So to answer your question though, I can't do it alone. It's a team,
Mhm.
but there are spaces where I have to show up because I can't go to sleep at night if I don't show up. I don't get that peaceful rest if I don't show up. So, it I have to be honest though, at times it's a lot, it's like there are certain days and certain months where you're like, I'm feeling this. Like, okay, bop, bop, bop. Meetings, networking, partnerships. Okay. And then there's days where it's like, this is a lot. It's because I'm interacting with a lot of people, a lot of energy. Um, at times it's a lot in a sense of in a space where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for my family now, and I want to focus on that, and I want to slow down. I had a client who's now a friend, and we were on our goddess trip, our queens tour in Egypt, and she just was asking me about like, okay, with having a family, it's going to require X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, I understand, and I'm ready for that. And I understand in certain spaces, you have to just pull the lever down just a bit if you
Yeah.
pull the lever up in another space. But
Hmm.
it's all about the balance of life
Hmm.
because they can't all be low or
Yeah.
all be high,
Yeah.
you know, is managing those different levers. And I'm like, okay, I'm willing to turn down a lever a little bit here and then also bring on a partner and make X, Y, and Z, allow X, Y, and Z to happen. Why turn the lever up on love and life and family?
Yeah.
That's cool with me, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important for me, So yeah, I think that's it is understanding that the balance that I've looked for forever was always within me. So it's just about the application. So yeah, I think that's
I
it.
love that. I
That sounds
understand
so
the
cliche.
balance that was always within me, and just realizing that, oh, I think that is amazing. What I want to ask you next is, what is your greatest fear?
See, I feel like because if I have a fear, then it will become
Mm-hmm.
of me. So there are things that I'm fearful of,
Hmm.
like, but I don't want to bring that into life and fruition
Yeah.
by so I quickly acknowledge it. So I was about to say it, and then I'm like, but no, it doesn't have to. So I just like breathe through the moment. So I honestly, I don't want to bring my fears to life. So
I love that.
that,
I love that.
yeah,
So conversely, what excites you the most about the next 12 months?
I love that question. Love, family, um, finding spaces of peace, where, yeah, I just, yeah, going to Jamaica soon. Like Jamaica provides peace for me also.
Yeah.
But the next 12 months, definitely love and like building my own family. That's really what excites me most and manifesting the right partner for a way to Africa
Yeah. Oh,
and actually acting on it because I can bring the manifestation and then it's like how I mentioned, like, oh, I could just go through this whole thing. So yeah, I
yeah.
think I think that's it. So I'm like even the starting off this year, things I'm blessed. Like eh, eh, Venus Williams said this quote. She said, discipline provides freedom.
Mm.
So I look forward most to becoming more disciplined, even with my health and how I show up for myself and balancing those levers. And with that, love in my family and the partner for Way to Africa. And for me, that will bring a joyous 12 months.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. What advice would you want to give to a woman who wants to go to her next level but isn't sure where or how to start?
Um, Definitely show up. So you have to invest in yourself if you want others to invest in you. So investing in yourself means um finding out whatever field you're interested in, what networking events are going on, what symposiums are going on. This is also how I love doing this. When I see a big event going on, say for instance, it was when the World Cup was in Brazil. And so I saw in one day, this is when I was fascinated with Ghana and the Black Stars. And so they were arriving into Miami to play a friendly against Japan. So I looked up who was hosting it and I contacted them and asked them, could I volunteer? And they were like, sure, sure. And I told them I'll travel to kind of a fun and shit. And it was like, sure, no problem. And then the guy I was dating at that time, his cousin was a football soccer coach for young girls.
Mm.
She was able to come and bring them, and then they did like a little warm-up session with them and throughout the day. So, and this is not, it had nothing to do with tourism, but I just was fascinated with Ghana.
Yeah.
I think I was still into very much into law at that time before I launched away to Africa. But there's so many different. I'm the one that I was cold calling. I still would cold call,
Hmm.
to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So just taking risks with whatever industry you're interested in, finding out the major players of the industry, those who are maybe 3 years away from becoming the major players, and then those who are startups.
Mm.
And then see, compare, do research on all different levels, and then reach out to people in all different levels and say, hey, can we go out for tea? Or I see you have this event going on. Is it possible if I can volunteer? And through there, and when you build relationships, don't just think what can you receive from that person, think what can you provide also. And you can say, well, I'm no NFL, I don't have anything to offer.
Mm.
That's not true. Just your time sometimes and your
Mm.
willingness to learn is something of value to the person you're reaching out. So I will always stand behind reaching out directly. And now you have people's emails and phone numbers like on the web, reaching out to people and staying consistent. And when I mean staying consistent, some people like, Tiff, you need to like tone it down, but I'm going to get it done. I don't care how many no's I have to receive. Now, personal things, no's cool, but when it comes to getting the job done for work, a no, oh, that's just one step closer to a yes.
Mm.
Set those goals and contact people in those spaces and make it happen. You have to show up for yourself.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Is there a question that I haven't asked already that you would have liked me to?
that's a good question. I would say, where do I see, because we're here because of Away to Africa, which is where do I see the continent? How do I see the continent moving forward within the next like 3 to 5 years, collectively speaking, from a
Hmm.
tourism perspective, or just from a social perspective? I
Okay.
think, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
So go ahead. Please answer.
Yeah, so um, the thing is, with Black people across the board, wherever we're from, we always talk about, let's do this together, let's partner, let's get unified. And that is our weakness, the fact that we're not unified.
Yes.
Everyone is progressing leap years ahead of us, not because they're more talented or that they have more resources. It's the fact that we do not work together.
Yeah.
And I I think with moving forward, in order for Africa to excel,
Hmm.
on a grand scheme of things, we have to first start by just like uniting in smaller spaces and communities, and then joining forces from that, and then having that, domino effect
Yeah.
of unification.
Yeah.
And we would honestly be unstoppable. Do I think we'll see it in our lifetime? I would say yes, because we are becoming more aware of what needs to be done and the actions that we need to take in order to get there. And I think our generation is committed to breaking generational locks or
Mm.
cycles that we've previously seen, and we're doing things so much different. We have so many of us who are now entrepreneurs, and we figured out a way to make money and create freedom for ourselves and our children,
Yeah.
where we're able to think and learn in a different space now also. So taking everything that our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents have taught us, and saying, how can I now use this and apply it to make myself stand more strong so then I can unite with my brother. and
Yeah.
and I say yes, we'll see that, because a lot of people say no, we won't see that, but I'm starting to see it already by even like Black men going to therapy. how
Yeah.
it's in for Black men to go to therapy, to
Mm.
start addressing, okay, why is this happening or this not happening, and going into the root of it all. And this is for women also.
Yes.
But in order for us to have clarity on how to move forward, we have to feel clear with ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's it. It sounds like it's not connected,
Mhm.
but we have to really understand and love ourselves and start uniting. And then secondly, to
Mhm.
close out with this, I would love to, like I love what happened recently in Senegal. We need younger leaders. We need leaders that represent the youth. We talk about the percentage of people under the age of 18 who'll be living throughout the continent within the next few years. And then we have people who are in government who've been in government since the independence of the country
Mhm.
and still having that like post-colonial, let's get out colonial, but we're still stuck in colonial by accepting these bad debts,
Yes.
where we okay, you don't want to get out of office, bring in, have it where there's two people who can rule, or you have one main ruler or leader, but you have someone who represents the youth,
Yeah.
and that voice has to be heard. And that I think will take us light years ahead
Yeah.
as a continent as well. We have to start including younger leaders in these positions to guide the country, because it's unfortunate that majority of times when you look around, first of all, the reason why there's a disparity of rich and poor throughout, many places. There's no middle class because there's not any jobs. There's
Yeah.
no one to consume, to create the consume. That's why the United States have middle class, because there's jobs, and people who have jobs, they buy and they feed and buy into
Yeah.
the economy.
Yes.
That's what's needed on the continent.
Yeah.
Jobs. Who needs jobs? The youth. How can you create jobs? You, through the government.
Yeah. It's true.
Or we look into entrepreneurs, and that's why I love the fact how tourism will provide the opportunity for young leaders to create sources of income
Mm.
for themselves through uh, something that is constantly already arriving into and moving throughout that country.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know that was a little bit all over the place, but yeah, that's
No, it wasn't. Because I've had this conversation many times with quite a few of my friends, and it's that one friend in particular, and it's the whole idea of creating, you said it many times, you said we a lot, and it's the whole idea of me versus, also we versus me. And so I think when you shift from the mindset of not how I can get ahead, but how we can get ahead, and understanding that us getting ahead allows me to get ahead. Says a rising tide raises all ships. So it wasn't everywhere. It made perfect sense. It's the whole idea of how do we make it so that we all can grow? Because that's how we will get better. Because it's not creating, because I think a lot of times people think it's if you win, I lose. But actually it's about creating a win-win situation so that everybody wins, everybody flourishes, and therefore everybody's better and everybody grows.
That's the biggest thing, like, people are like, "Yeah, we could do it," but as soon as you see someone doing a little bit better, quicker, and faster than
Yeah,
you, then it's like, "Well, I'm not gonna give them my resources because there's just." But it's like we feed into each other, and
yeah,
we're going to grow at different spaces, at different times, different
yeah.
paces. So, but just master your lane and trust the process. But don't look to your left, don't look to your left and right to unite, but don't look to your left and right for jealousy purposes.
Mhm.
And that's the biggest thing. Once we realize like we're not each other's competition, or even you can have like friendly competition, like a lot of Black owners in this travel space, I know them. And I'm good friends with some of them, like the owners of Black and Abroad. When I tell you I love these guys, and I was in Atlanta the other day, and we sat and we met up and we hung out, and I brought more friends along, and we're competitors. We're
Yes,
going after the same clients, but it's $1 billion industry. We give
yes.
each other notes, we recommend, like, come on. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. Oh, and finally, I want to ask you, what gives you a meant for more mindset?
I think the more I know and learn and experience, the more I realize that I haven't even scraped the corner of what is out there for me to take in. And I think that's just it, like knowing that I know nothing at all. I haven't really like I've experienced life, but I really, when you really look at, I haven't even really lived half my life yet, you
Mm.
know? So there's so much more that's in front of me. But I also think I can, I also know that I'm moving closer to the highest form of love and growing closer to God and things of that sort. And so I'm going to end with this like my motto. So I feel as if God is love and that love exists in every human being. I don't care who it is. And not even human being, every soul, whether it's an animal, whether it's an ant, like there is, I'm sorry, some form of love within you. So going back to the human sense, every every place that you travel to, everywhere you travel to, you expand, you meet more people, and you meet different forms of love. So
Mhm.
the more people you meet, the more forms of love you experience, and the closer
Mhm.
to God that you get.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Tiffany, I want to celebrate you in this moment, and I want to say thank you for being you, and thank you for sharing. Like, one of the things that I've done this year is I've traveled a lot more than I have in recent years because of the pandemic. And I've just, in terms of the exploration I've done of myself and of the different places I've been to, it's so amazing. So the fact that you bring that gift to so many people and so many Black people into taking them back to Africa, or so many people period, taking them, helping them go. But I love it. Not you, I was about to say back to, but actually away to Africa, because it's that thing of understanding who you are and then helping other people do the same for themselves and helping them, like we were discussing earlier, recreate themselves. And what you do, and I know you said you don't want to take all the credit for it, but what you do is really, really, really amazing, because it's helping people to really live in the fullness of themselves. And it goes back into your motto of everything is love, and God is present in everything, because that's how you're helping them get back to that and then flourish in the world with that, so then they can spread it with other people, and then it just makes the whole cycle bigger and better and amazing. And so yeah, so I thank you for being you. I thank you for the work that you do. I thank you for the love that you are and the love that you share.
Oh, thank you so much. I
You're
feel
welcome.
that. I received that. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome. You're welcome. Before we go, can you please let our listeners know where they can connect with you online?
No problem. Everything is away to Africa. So email info at away to Africa, AWAYTO Africa.com. Our social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all the way to Africa.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. So, guys, this is it for this episode. Um, Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we shall see you in the next one. Take care. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. For more about me, what I do, check out my website, nextlevelcoachinggroup.com, where you can also download my free Release Your Mindset Blocks guide. You can also follow me on Instagram at Next Level Coaching Group, or on Facebook at Next Level Lounge. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a rating and review. Thanks. See you on the next one.